So I come here standing. Usually I don't stand. It's kind of difficult. I usually don't prepare very much what I have to say. This time I wrote two pages, but they were written so small, so small, so small that I will not be able to read it to you. It's just a kind of assurance for me to be here with a pen, with everything written, but of course it's not going to be read by me. So when I received from Fermin this invitation to come and speak about life, about the architecture, I didn't really know very well what to do, what was the model I wanted to copy. In a way, my best model would be to be like Ulysses when he was coming after a lot of adventures, nearly dead on the sand of a beach, and then a king was rescuing him through his daughter, and then he was asking him, what's your story? And they had time together, they were killing some animals, offering to the gods, and then sit together and starting a real conversation with a lot of time. Of course, this is not the case. No? Today we have 20 minutes. 20 minutes is a very short time, but what I think is fantastic is that we are here, three fantastic, well, not me, but the two which are with me. I think it's incredible what Fermin has done to invite Wolf Rix and Ben van Berkel. For the papers? No. Too difficult to involve more things. And Ben van Berkel, I think, is really fantastic. And they are both friends, and they were important in our past life, especially when I was together with Erik Miralles. And of course, we are here in the Miralles Saal, and the Musikschule, it's next door. It was actually the first building that we had won after many competitions that we were doing in Europe and then in Germany. We were always receiving a second prize, honorable mention, second prize, this during years, many years. And after many years, we arrived in Hamburg and we won the music school first prize. We couldn't believe it. It was incredible. And I think Hamburg is special in this sense, no? For me. It is very special. At that time, the chief architect, who was Cossack, had in mind a kind of a very free idea. We can invite someone who is from abroad, never built in Germany, someone very new, because we want something new in Hamburg. And then years after, with Herr Walter, in the same position, we had the same generosity offered by having given the first prize in a competition for the Hafen City, for the public spaces, which then we could go on and on building. So in a way today, we are here three, but for me we're four. And Erik Miralles is here, and I know that I will talk a little about our story together, because Erik is kind of present, not physically, but maybe, yeah, physically with the architecture. Actually, maybe if there's someone else who is going on with the photographs. Oh no, I go on. I didn't prepare what I had to say together with the photos, so the photos will go by little. So Erik Miralles and I think we have a story together, but we were born in different places. And I was born in Italy, as Fermin has told you, and I was born in the north of Italy. The north of Italy is a place which is called Lombardy, and actually this name comes from Longobardos. Longobardos were the invaders that we received more than 1,000 years ago. And in the family, we are tall. Actually, my grandmother was very tall. She was blonde, she was blue eyes. Everybody thought that she was German, actually. So maybe sometimes I think that I have a very big part of my German blood inside, I think. And when I come here, I have this feeling. When I'm in Spain, I feel that I'm the tallest, and I always have to wear very low shoes. But when I come in Germany, I have the feeling I could wear something a little higher, because around me is always very high people. And my grandfather also was very tall. And so we are a family coming from the north, which is a place a little similar to what is Germany. We are people very in love with work, in love with inventing things, always doing things, and this is what we think of ourselves. And Erik Miralles was coming from Spain, and Spain is a place where people is a little shorter, but in fact he was coming from a family where they had different heights in the family. He was a tall Spanish, and I think he was from Catalonia, very strongly feeling that Barcelona was a very important city. He had this very big pride that everybody in Catalonia has. But his family was from all over Spain, from all over, which is making him also having different genetics. For example, his grandmother was coming from Andalusia, very black, and his grandfather was coming from Valencia, very small and very white. So still in the family you can find people who is very black skin, or other people who is very white. And we mix together and we make a kind of a new mix, no? The Europeans, which are also coming with Arabic influences and so on. And not only the genetic is very important, I think, and maybe here we are following with the images, the family, this is more me. This was found not by me. These photographs were found in the office, and I don't know how these photos arrived here. And the Italian family. I have more photos of the Italian family. And here is Erik, maybe with the pointer. He is the Spanish one. And then my father, she is very tall. My mother, she is not tall. Actually, the grandmother from her side, she was 1.49 meters, but she was very beautiful, but very small, and also very wishing to be taken into consideration. So whenever you were asking her, how tall are you? She was saying, I'm 1.51 meters. So very important. And then all the generations coming, my sister, other sister, my daughter, also the little one, I'm here, and I don't know, the families, this is one moment, no? They change and they go into different moments. But maybe we keep a little this image, because on the spiritual side, Erik was always thanking my father and saying, I know the story of Benedetta. Actually, they were never telling this story, but an uncle was an aunt, actually, an old aunt, was always telling me that on a summer they went to Mallorca for holidays, and it was raining and raining and raining. And after 9 months, I was born. I was unexpected, actually. And and then Erik was always thanking my father, say, I'm so happy about your Spanish mistake, because then the Spanish mistake could give me my wife, and then the generations, our generation to come. So, okay, this is the spiritual world and the genetic world. And then the casualties, you meet somehow, somewhere, you don't know why, you could have maybe never met. Actually, I was in New York. because I didn't like very much my university in Venice. It was very difficult. If you can move in a university like Venice, it means that then you can arrange yourself in everything. And I went to New York to experiment a little bit. I was in a group of architects who were organizing a magazine for students. They had interviewed Erik Miralles, and then by chance Erik Miralles was giving a lecture. And then I went and gave this magazine where we had the interview with him that I didn't do. And apparently he didn't like it at all. But this was the occasion to start a relationship. We started to go out with some common friends. We started to have dinners. And then at the time I was doing my thesis project in New York, and he was teaching in Columbia University. And apparently we had free time. And he was very, very quick in kind of telling to the students, today you do this and this and this and this, now I go. So he was coming to my house, and he was coming for breakfast, and then we were going together for a visit high-rise building in the city of New York. And this was a very beautiful wandering. We were going out, and he was explaining me what he was seeing in these buildings of the 30s, and we were becoming kind of expert in today I was trying to remember William Lescaze, Eli Kahn, or these architects of the 30s which were doing this fantastic city of New York. And this was the moment where, of course, wandering together, talking together, we fall in love, and after that I went to Barcelona. And I was very, I didn't know Barcelona. It was the first time I had met such a city. It was very fascinating. It was a beautiful moment in the 90s, but the situation was not easy. Erik had already a wife who was also his partner, and I broke this situation, which was difficult for me and for him. And maybe that's why we kind of escaped, and we went in a part of a city, which was the old city of Barcelona, which at the time was totally forgotten. Nobody was thinking about the old city of Barcelona. It was kind of a place where only people who couldn't choose would go. But that's why there were, at the time in the 90s, some fantastic places which were reminding me Venice, which was a city which educated me really. And we were going around. I was more free than Erik, and I was looking in the newspapers, trying to see where I could find interesting descriptions of interesting places. And one day I found myself in a description of a place, and I went there. The agency didn't even want to come with me to the place. They gave me the key. I went inside, and it was an incredible, beautiful palace, totally forgotten, totally abandoned since 40 years before. It was totally gray, but with very high ceiling, a fantastic thing. And this started to become our office in the old city. We started from there to do a collaboration together, to look outside Barcelona, because after '92, Barcelona didn't have so much possibility to give new work to young architects. And we started to make a lot of competitions, a lot of traveling here and there. And we went to Japan, we went to the north of Europe, to Holland. And everywhere we were going, we were kind of learning. Learning was maybe the important point. I think today Wolf was reminding Erik, maybe I'm spoiling something that he has to say, so I don't say maybe. He was saying something beautiful about Erik and the idea of learning. So this was really the reason why Erik was an architect. He wanted to learn. Let's go a little more with the photographs, and let's see some of the images of our traveling together. This was the Scottish Parliament. It was one of the surprises. No? We participated to a competition after having met a lot of people in Scotland, in the Mackintosh School of Art, and we did a competition that Erik didn't want to do. He said, but this is an institutional competition to do a parliament. Why do we do an institution? We are not institutional architects. And at the end we won it, and it was one of these, wow, big projects and also big stories. This is a photo I liked very much of Erik. I took it when he was in a building in Huesca, and he seemed very worried, you know? And I like it very much. It seemed heroical. And in fact, this building had a kind of a big problem. The roof of that building collapsed during construction. Nobody died. It was a sort of miracle. But now, looking at his face in that position with the cables, which were the one which collapsed, it's a sort of something, no? Erik sometimes had this capacity of being a little magical, a little understanding something about the future or seeing things. Here he's talking about the Scottish Parliament. Here we are visiting things, beautiful moments in Chile, or with a lot of friends, which are the architects of Barcelona. Barcelona has a very beautiful architectural environment. Most of the architects are friends, which is very difficult, you know, because we are very competitive. But there is this kind of hidden competition. Of course, everybody's looking at the others with a kind of very curious eyes, but in the same time, there is this kind of fantastic loyalty, you know, and this knowing that you're part of a group and sharing the group. So we had these beautiful moments together with other architects. He's one from Isozaki. Isozaki was very important in all our lives because he invited many of those Spanish architects in Japan to work. And actually, Fujie-san died only 2 days ago, so I think it's a nice way to remember him, by chance, because he was put here by chance. Then moments with the children. Of course, the children were a sort of change in our life. No, we had as children architecture, but now we had real people as children, and it's always a kind of a miracle. No, it's incredible. I had this feeling when I first saw my daughter to be, for the first time, in love with a new person I didn't know before. No? And this is fantastic, no? What nature can do. And this happened to Erik. And we were then bringing our children to the many cities that we were visiting for work. And other friends, Oscar Tusquets here, and this is a nice photograph of Erik looking out of the window. And this is a series of sad photos. Probably the person who put it here didn't know. These are the photos where Erik was already ill. He knew about his illness. And we had a very incredible moment in the house of our client in Houston, Jerry Hines. He gave us his house, and we could stay there with the children. And we had this kind of life as if everything goes well. But actually things were not really going well. And Erik died in the year 2000. But I had this kind of feeling, very strong feeling, that I couldn't go back to Italy and I couldn't forget all this story that we had started together. I had to remain in Barcelona, also because Barcelona is a fantastic city, and I think it's a wonderful city for children. And we went on, no? In a kind of simulation, as if Erik is still there. He is gone for a trip, a very long trip. And this helped very much in giving the possibility of continuing, going on and transforming little by little without thinking from the beginning, now what I do, I said, I don't know, I do exactly what I used to do, and maybe some changes will arrive and I will not notice, and then this is life as it develops. So this happened. And I have to present you, this is my little bird, our little bird, but actually he's mine because he wants to bite everybody else, even my son or even my daughter. And we found him in the park in Barcelona in year 2001, and he's still there, kind of saying quack, quack, whenever I come in the house, and he's called Pepe, and the dogs are not so long life. This was a wonderful dog. She was called Tina, and now we have another one, and so more changes. Moments in the work, you know, without Erik, I had to kind of trust that we could go on, and I could take decisions, and I could convince politicians. This is the mayor of Barcelona at the time, Mr. Heinz, in the opening of the Diagonal Mar Park. So we convinced ourselves, also the people in the studio, you know, and we were enjoying these nice times, you know, that are coming from the projects. Projects are kind of giving a lot of beautiful moments. The opening of the Scottish Parliament with Her Majesty, and what else? And after many years, after 10 years, the Scottish Parliament visited with the person who was the great teacher of Erik, Rafael Moneo, an incredible, fantastic mind, someone who is fascinating in the way he talks because he has an incredible logic. Today, Wolf Brix was telling me that Erik was someone who was not a Jesuit, and of course, Rafael Moneo is a Jesuit. He had been studying in the school of the Jesuits, and his mind is one of these incredible, wonderful, clear minds that are an example in the history of the Jesuits. Here, maybe something that you recognize a little more. We are opening the Miralles Saal. We are together with Herr Walter, who was so fantastic to have him here and to have him always present. He is the person who is always present, always able to be on top of things in a fantastic way. You know? So he's one of my heroes. It's true. and here we are in other moments. In the Magellanplatz with Herr Brunsbergentelk. I needed a long time to understand how to pronounce Brunsbergentelk, and now the music is sounding, isn't it? Was it the music? Was it a dream? Yeah, it was the music. So that's it. Magellanplatz, the Hafen City. It is still going on. So this is a piece of the story which is going on and on and on. Thank you.